What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, quick disclaimer: I'm from Cali. For those of you that don't know, Bay Area, to be specific. And out here, it's really a melting pot. We got people of all walks of life, different ages, different races, all colors and creeds. I get along with everybody. My pops was in the military, so that's just how it goes. Doing these videos and commentary, sometimes you get people who feel singled out in races and groups, and you hate Muslims. I've heard it all. I've heard I hate Muslims, whites, blacks. I'm pro black. I'm pro Cuban. Like I'm pro Cuban. I hate Filipinos. All kinds of stuff. I'm gonna do a video, and at the end of the day, I don't care if you're black, Puerto Rican, white, Mexican, green, Hispanic, Argentinian. I don't really care where you're from. I keep it real on my channel. I give you my honest, unadulterated thoughts, and that's just what it is. Now, I have to talk about Nonito Donaire, also a Bay Area resident. I respect Nonito. He's given us great fights. But I do have to say this. And now, I have certain people, like I said, I got to do this disclaimer. I have certain people who, anytime Donaire or Pacquiao are mentioned, they're like radicalists, and you can't say anything wrong about him. But I'm going to say something that I disapprove of that Nonito is doing. I'll explain it in detail in this video. So whether that's your favorite fighter or not, don't care, because I'm a Bay Area native. I support Nonito Donaire, but I have to be honest when I say the things that I'm going to say. And it's nothing personal, strictly business, as Wesley Snipes would say. And that's just what it is. Like I said, I like Filipinos. I fucked some Filipino females. It's all good. But Nonito Donaire recently did an interview with Ring TV, and he says, I'm not taking anything away from Rigondeaux, but my mind wasn't really 100% on the fight. I honestly didn't care about it that much. Most of the time I was thinking about my kid. Rigondeaux has to understand this sport is about entertainment as much as anything. I had to change my style in order to get on television. If this is truly the case, then it makes me lose a little bit of respect for Nonito Donaire. I mean, it's like one excuse after another. And like I said, I'm not going to abandon, I'm not a bandwagon person. I still support Nonito Donaire. But how many excuses are we going to have to hear about this fight? Just rematch the dude. If you feel you could do better, you feel you could get more focused or extract revenge, do that. Simple. But instead, we're hearing Nonito Donaire versus Vic Darcini in a fight that most avid boxing fans don't want to see. Now, if you want to tune up, you want to tune up. But everything he says kind of supports that the reason he lost was because he had a shoulder injury, a pre-existing shoulder spur, and he needed surgery. He has since received the surgery on that. And now it's just like one excuse after another. Oh, my shoulder. Now it's his baby, and his mind was elsewhere, and he was preoccupied. Yet on the 24/7, I distinctly remember, because I really wanted to see this fight. Nonito was basically saying, I'm so focused, and they were talking about his pregnancy. He never once said anything that would allude to the fact that he wasn't fully prepared going into this fight. He said, if anything, Rigondeaux wasn't prepared for a fighter like him. And we all know that Rigondeaux put on a masterful boxing experience for Nonito Donaire. And it's just the way he's taken the loss and has been since the loss that is really disappointing for me. Again, Nonito, a fighter I really respect, but it's just like, first it was his shoulder, now it's he wasn't really focused because he had a kid on the way. I mean, you could do that about anything. Truthfully, this is life. I mean, boxers generally have a hard life in general. That's like Victor Ortiz losing and saying, oh, I was thinking about growing up as a foster kid with me and my brother during the Mayweather fight. That's why I lost. Or Lamont Peterson, when he lost to Lucas Matisse recently, he could say, oh, I was thinking about my early days living homeless with my brother Anthony in the streets of D.C. Or Lucas Matisse or Marcos Maidana being poor in Argentina. Anything. I mean, realistically, this is life. Anyone has trials and tribulations associated with their life, obstacles, and that's just what it is. You can't use that as a scapegoat as to why you lose. If you lose, you lose. Redeem yourself, have a rematch, but just stop with the excuses. And that's honestly how I feel. Like I said, not taking anything away from Nonito. Hopefully I could work with him at some point, do an interview or something. But Just rematch Rigondeaux if that's the case. Take the tune-up fight with Darchinian or whatever you feel. I just don't feel it's right because you say you're not taking anything away from Rigondeaux, but since Rigondeaux's won, I feel everybody is taking HBO, Nonito, Bob Arum. Nobody's really giving this dude credit. I mean, this dude knocked off someone who's in the top 10 pound for pound that hadn't been defeated in years and was expected to win, and he almost made it look easy. That deserves some credit. Now, you could say, oh, I had a bad shoulder and all kinds of stuff like that. And one final thing that's really funny is there's a lot of hypocrisy in the sport of boxing. Floyd Mayweather has a tough fight with Jose Luis Castillo with one arm. He had a torn rotator cuff or something was wrong with his shoulder. He had a tough fight. Later that year, a couple months after, he rematched Jose Luis Castillo and beat him convincingly, way more convincingly than the first time. So he kind of put that to rest. And in the first fight, he won, and he acknowledged that he had a hurt shoulder in that fight. However, 11, 12 years later, Mayweather haters or fans still bring up, oh, Mayweather shouldn't be 44-0 or 43-0 or whatever. He should have one loss to Jose Luis Castillo. So they're going to jog up a fight from over a decade ago that the judges said he won. Mayweather's not a judge, so, I mean, that's really out of his hand. It was a close competitive fight, whether you thought Castillo won or Mayweather won. He said he had a hurt shoulder, even though he won. And people still, to this day, won't count that as a win, and they bring that up. Yet Nonito Donaire loses the fight and comes up with 1,000 excuses. Oh, it's my shoulder. At least Mayweather said it was my shoulder after he won. He still said, I apologize for not having my full potential or the best possible version of me in that fight. And he redeemed himself in the same year by convincingly beating Castillo and silencing the critics. Now, Nonito keeps saying, oh, I'm not taking anything away from Rigondeaux, but I was focused on my baby. Congrats to Rachel and Nonito for having their first kid. Much love to their family. I hope their baby was born healthy, no problems. But, I mean, you got to give Rigondeaux credit for what he did. Somebody with a little over 10 fights as a professional, and he dethroned somebody he was expected to lose to. And not just anybody, Nonito Donaire, someone with high hopes for HBO. So as far as Bob Arum, HBO, Nonito Donaire, I feel like you guys got to give him a little bit more props. Nonito, take your tune-up fight with Darchinian or whatever you have to do and get back in the ring before you move up with Rigondeaux. I think the fans want to see it, and that's just what it is. Bob Arum or whoever is saying that HBO cringes when they mention a fight with Rigondeaux, but a loss is a loss. Like, I don't understand this whole boxing like mentality where when the prized fighter or the celebrated fighter, the cash cow, or the star, the fighter with star power, i.e. Nonito Donaire, i.e. Manny Pacquiao, when they lose, all of a sudden they don't have to redeem themselves. Manny Pacquiao loses Timothy Bradley according to the judges, and Timothy Bradley wins. And then he can go on and say, hey, I don't have to rematch Bradley. Even though Bradley was calling Pacquiao out, say, hey, you feel you won? Let's do it again. Pacquiao avoided that fight. Like I just beat him so convincingly the first time, even though Bradley won on the judges' scorecards. So I don't have to rematch this dude. Nonito Donaire, you lose to Rigondeaux, and they're trying to make a fight with Vic Darchinian. So it's like, I really don't see how it works. If the champion, the celebrated superstar, loses to somebody, it's his obligation to get that retribution and get that revenge, extract revenge, in my opinion. And he's the one with something to prove. Rigondeaux doesn't have nothing to prove. He already beat you. You outweighed him on fight night. You were the favorite. You have more professional fights under your resume. You had more championship fights. He unified and beat you, so he really doesn't have anything to prove. But I think Nonito Donaire does, and I think before he moves up out of weight and avoids that Rigondeaux rematch, don't say, oh, he's not a big enough star to the point where it makes sense to fight me. Because, to be honest, Nonito fought people like Matabula from South Africa, and nobody in the States knows. At least Rigondeaux fought a couple times on celebrated undercards of big fights. Rigondeaux also fought at Radio City Music Hall, one of the only fighters to as boxers to fight on that venue. So at least he has a little bit more exposure. So you can't really say, oh, he doesn't bring any star power. I mean, if you're such a big star, then I feel like it's your burden to bring majority of the crowd anyway. Like Mayweather versus Guerrero. Mayweather was clearly the biggest star. Robert Guerrero wasn't. So majority of the pay-per-view buys was probably because Mayweather's name was attached to it more so than Robert Guerrero. So if Nonito's the bigger star, then it doesn't matter who his opponent is. He should be bringing in the most people, and he's the cash cow. So let me know what you guys think. Should he rematch Rigondeaux? Do you want to see it? What do you think of the excuses? Let me know something in the comments. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.